Welcome to July. And in July, we're going to start talking about just toxin-free, how we can reduce the toxins in our life, and why it even matters. But before we get started, Dr. Jess, what is in your glass today?
So I've got my bottle of water and I've got some fresh lemon that's been cut up in here. I just cut the lemon in half and then in half again. So I quarter it and then I just leave those quarters in here. So then as I refill my bottle during the day, then I still can get that little bit of flavor. So I drink more, and it's been helping me to try and finish multiple bottles a day instead of just one. And if I leave it in my line of sight, I'm more likely to finish it and refill it, which is my goal for, every day, really. So Dr. Bobbie, what's in your glass?
So I have plain water. I need to start doing something like that. I have been on a plain water kick, which is actually good. There's nothing wrong with that. But it would be nice to put a little bit of some like fresh. I'm not a big lemon person. I am one of those people like take the lemon out.
Yeah.
But like maybe lime or cucumber or strawberry or something else. I'll have to try it.
Yeah, we don't normally do lemon. I was just like at the grocery store and had both kids with me, which means you got to move quick. I'm like, got to get in, got to get out. Like I don't double back. So I'd already passed where there were some limes, and I happened to see a bag of lemons, and I was like, oh, that'll do. So normally it's limes.
It will work.
I was like, I'm not going to double back. It was too crowded. It would have been a mess. Like it was, I just go through. I stay moving forward. I don't love grocery shopping.
I love grocery shopping, but having a little one, it may change different things here soon. So we'll see.
Right. And this day was like particularly close to nap time. So and we're getting low on snacks already. So I was like, we got to get this going,
At least you're in the grocery store. You can just grab a snack.
Yeah, like let's go. We're gonna keep moving, keep everyone happy, no meltdowns by me either. And so yeah. So Dr. Bobbie, tell us, we are in Toxin-Free Month, which we both are super passionate about. And how do you want to start it off?
Well, I think the big thing to look at is like toxin-free can encompass so many things. It can go from your face products, your lotion, your shampoo, to your laundry, to the furniture you buy in your house, to the cleaning products you use, and to the food that you put in. So it's not just what we put on our bodies, it's what's around us, what we're breathing, but it's also what we're eating. And I'm really excited for our lineup. We have some different topics for this month. But I think today we kind of want to start about like our journeys. We talked a little bit about last year, but like how did trying to be more aware of what we're putting in and around us. Dr. Jess and I are by no means perfect at this. And there's always a balance. So as we talk about this, please realize that when I try to eat healthy, I still have Dunkin' Donuts. I still have the creams and the sugars and the stuff that, maybe isn't considered so great for our body. So it's all about that, finding that balance as we go through this. And it's also starting little. Even replacing one product that you run into every day can make a big difference. So it doesn't need to be this big, overwhelming feeling.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I would definitely say like striving for perfection is never it's just going to feel so overwhelming that you won't even want to start the journey of trying to lead a more toxin-free life. And so it's going to be like for me at least, what matters most, and like make the changes there. And then as you go through, you'll start realizing, oh, like now that I've got this a little bit more under control, maybe I could start thinking about this or that or whatever it might be. And doing it based on like when it's time to buy something new because you're about out, to think, oh, maybe I can make a decision that's going to be a little bit more mindful of what I'm going to be putting on or in my body, and do a little bit of research on a product. You can follow us on social media. We are always posting information on toxin-free products. You can kind of circle through stuff that we have out there, not just us, other companies as well have all sorts of information that's pretty readily available. So it shouldn't take like too long for just if you're just looking for a couple things that you want to switch out in your home.
Mhm.
So Dr. Bobbie, how did you first start thinking about toxin-free, and like maybe this is something that some changes you want to make in your lifestyle?
So I actually started kind of like two ways that kind of combined and realized that even though they were two separate areas of my life, like they were both headed in the same direction. So one was through um first was through food. Um I was having headaches, I couldn't sleep, didn't feel good. I was nauseous if I ate, I was nauseous if I didn't eat. My stomach was really upset, and so that is when I found kind of Whole30. And so um I did it. I tried to do a smaller thing earlier, but I couldn't. Things life happened and didn't follow through. So I did it for a good 5 weeks. It's technically only like a 4 week, 30-day program, but I actually did it for 5 weeks. And it was amazing what I experienced during that time. I never really believed that food could have that much of an impact on your body. Now the first few days on it, I felt great. Um, the next week and a half, I felt miserable. But once I got to that like third week, weeks 3 through 5, I felt amazing. I went from having almost headaches and migraines every day to not one migraine. I did not have any nightmares at night. Sleeping was a big issue for me. So I noticed, I think a lot of it was due to anxiety. So somehow eating healthy helped with my anxiety and being able to sleep. And it was just kind of really, really amazing how much the food I ate affected me. And
Mhm.
then at the same time, I was kind of starting in this makeup company, which not going to say the name of because I have since learned it's not as healthy as I thought it was. And that's a big thing with toxin-free living and trying to is greenwashing and kind of products out there. They are labeled and displayed as they are very healthy for us, but in reality, they're not once we start learning more into it. So those two things were kind of going on, and that's where I started, was just honestly food. And after I did Whole30, I didn't like stay that way. It's not meant to it was meant for me to clean out. I noticed like bread and certain foods that bother me. So I've kept those out and added other things back in. Um, but those are the two that kind of got me on my journey.
Mhm.
So Dr. Jess, give us a little bit about you and how you got started with trying to just like change a few products here and there.
Yeah. Well, I'd say like first I noticed food has always been something that pretty much since I was 18 that I've been really mindful of like what I put in my body. I had C. diff when I turned 18. It was, just a complication after having a surgery, minor procedure, antibiotic mixed with pain medicine, and essentially like just jacked up my whole GI system. C. diff took over, which is a bowel infection, and I was sick for a long time. And it was really hard to get rid of. I was really, really sick and hospitalized, all that fun stuff, took every antibiotic approved by the FDA in the US. So as you can imagine, my entire digestive tract was like just like in disrepair. And so it took me years to like really rebuild my system to be able to eat and not feel sick. And so like just it seems like kind of basic, but to be able to eat something and not throw it back up or feel super nauseated was a win. Like, so I had to start really slow. And I learned along the way that my system became very sensitive to things that weren't really, really clean, or things that were like rich, a little bit dairy sensitive. Like it just, everything had to be like, I had to allow my system to gain its strength again. And so I did that through a lot of trial and error, like no real help, nobody like I think it's times are getting better now where they are pairing patients with like nutritionists and like functional medicine doctors and people that are like actually can help guide you more strategically rather than like my 18-year-old like trial and error. Like I was, I started college, I'm like living on campus trying to like eat in the like cafeteria at the school, and it's just like I mean it was a struggle, it was a real struggle. So by the time like, you know, we got into graduate school, like I was in a better place, but still like really trying to understand like what, yeah, like how am I going to function the best, because food was still like kind of difficult for me. And so Dr. Bobbie and I, we tried to do a cleanse at one point
Mhm.
in grad school, and it, you know, it was okay. Like that was for me, like cleanse wasn't necessarily like my main answer. I think it was like, again, it was trial and error, something to try.
Mhm.
But then I started realizing that like more or less, as long as I eat a whole food diet and I don't have a lot of fillers and stuff in it, things that are low in dairy. I don't have to be dairy free, but low in dairy. I don't do gluten. I take that out, and I just feel better. And so it's just been like, it was kind of, for me, it was forced on me. I didn't really have a choice, like, because I just wanted to stop throwing up when I ate. And so it forced me to be super clean. And then when I would start to get like a little bit lax, then I would start like getting stomach aches again, like real gassy, real crampy. Like it's, you know, you eat and then you just feel awful, and then it's hard to focus. Like there's no chance of going for a run or like playing tennis. Like you feel terrible. So it's like I have like a pretty extreme cause and effect with food. And so so that's where I started. And it wasn't until I was honestly pregnant with my first son that I started with actually thinking about products like shampoo, lotion, you know, makeup products. Like it didn't, I was just so focused on food that I didn't even consider anything else until I had another being to consider. So
Mhm.
um so yeah, that's kind of the why. You know, we all have a different why, and we all start in some different way, and which is fine. Everybody's journey is different. It is something though that I think is important to like talk about and consider, that like there's not one way of leading a toxin-free lifestyle, and it's something that you're just you know, it's just like exercise. I see it as like exercise. Like I try and get this like certain amount during the week, and if I don't hit every single number, like I'm like, it's okay. Like a little bit of something's better than a whole lot of nothing. And you just keep on going and realize that it's all just, you know, you're just trying to like keep everything balanced. And so
Mhm.
if we're traveling, we might get some French fries from, you know, a fast food restaurant because it's quick, it's easy. You know, we're 30, 50 miles from like a town that has a better choice, and everybody's over it. So we might, right? Like,
Mhm.
and I'm not gonna feel bad about it.
I think, and I think, like even especially as a mom, there's a lot of like comparison, and it's just
Yeah.
it's so crazy. It's little things. It's just do little things for you and your family.
Mhm.
If you and your family, you find there's a laundry detergent allergy, like focus on that. Who cares? I mean, not who cares what you're eating, but don't let people don't feel judged by other people.
Yeah.
Like really do what's best for your family, and every little step makes a big difference.
Mhm.
You don't have to go change your house 100% and change your food 100% because it's not realistic.
No, it's not. Like I said, you know, it wasn't until like, you know, well over 10, 15 years later that I actually started considering like I don't know why I never considered it. I didn't consider
Mhm.
shampoo, conditioner, lotion, face makeup, you know.
Yeah.
It didn't even like cross my mind. That's like how like I, you know, um
Mhm.
out of it I was with like that kind of stuff. And obviously once I learned about it, I was like, oh goodness gracious,
Mhm.
I should think about this. And so as my shampoo would run out, then it would be like, hey, let's look at different options. And I would reach out to people that I knew that were more knowledgeable than myself. And I would try, you know, I would try what they had tried, and it might work for me, it might not. Same thing with like makeup products and whatnot, deodorant as well. And
Mhm.
yeah, so for the most part, like kind of that word of mouth helps me big time with choosing products. And so, because I could literally, instead of researching, I'd send a text message, hey, Dr. Bobbie, what deodorant are you using now? And she'd be like, oh, I love this one. I'm like, can you send me the link? And
Well, it's so much
I order
easier
it.
to kind of learn from others. Like I don't, I To be honest, I don't label Reade. I have a few friends that are like experts in it. So
Mhm.
like they've made lists and they really help me just know kind of what to look for, what not to look for. I know the keywords, but I don't know the chemical terms. So like even if you know parabens, I think that's a very common one. Parabens can be disclosed as a lot of different scientific words. So you can't just look for no parabens. Like if you're on the ingredient list, you got to look for all these words and I don't know them, like, and
Yeah.
to be honest, in my life right now, it's not important for me to research and know all the scientific words. So I just lean on those that I trust and that have done the research, and that's their area of expertise. And I think that's what's great is leaning on each other's strengths.
Mhm. For sure. And there's like, like we did an episode last year with a good friend of mine who she's got her PhD in biomedical research. And so she's done a ton of research on different chemicals that are in all the different products that we're exposed to. And so she does understand the chemical terms and the science and all of that
Mhm.
behind it. And we'll link that. Some information from that episode as well in the episode description in case you're interested in learning more about like the specific science behind it, as well as like some links for sites that will give you more like list-based stuff. So if you really do want like a more protected list that has like some recommended products in it that have been researched, some of these links in that episode description you'll find helpful. That's what I use. Again, because it's like you still have all of the time in your day that you're trying to get everything else done. So what I say is like recommendations that I can give as far as, food is where I kind of started, and that's where I feel a little bit stronger. I lean on other people for products on my skin. Like at this point, I've pretty much changed out as I've, it's taken me 5 years, but I've like
Mhm.
changed out all of our cleaning, all of our laundry, all of our, my makeup, the, stuff for the boys, their shampoo, their lotion, all of that kind of stuff. Like as we were ready for something else, then I would just buy whatever the product was that I wanted to try. Sometimes the product would work for me, sometimes it wouldn't. So, it's, my hair is a little bit different than Dr. Bobbie's hair. And, there's just going to be certain things where you're going to have to like do a little trial and error. And again, I still wouldn't say that it's perfect, because there's times where like I might typically order something online and then I realize I'm like super low and I need it like tomorrow. So now I have to like kind of do the quick struggle of like, what can I buy in a store versus ordering it online? Because a lot of it I do order online because it's like once I have that product, I like that one. And
Mhm.
so I'll usually do that, and I'll look for sales and whatnot as well. But when it comes to food, I'd say what I've done to keep myself a little bit more organized is I've got my Pinterest where I save the recipes and I save them in order, like, categories of like kids recipes, lunches, dinners, breakfasts, things like that. So that way I can like easily go back and reference the ones that I liked, and I'll just, discard the ones that I didn't like. And I also have a binder. It's actually like our two gals binder that anytime there's one that I like that maybe is like I copied it out of somebody's cookbook. Like I'm always borrowing like recipe books from
Mhm.
people because they'll be like, oh, I have this one, you should really look at it. Then I'll like photocopy and I'll put it in there because that's always so easy. We can put the binder up right in the kitchen, and then I have everything kind of ready to go. And so I meal prep. That's the only way that I can have our family eat a whole food diet is if I meal prep. Because it's just I don't have time to get home from work and like chop vegetables and cook them and like, have some sort of a balance with like I need to play, like I like need
Yes.
my playtime when I get out of work, and my kids need their playtime. And so we need to run around like banshees. Like we live a little feral, so no shoes outside, like muddy. So
Not the same. I love outside, but I gotta have sandals on. I can't stand my feet touching grass.
Like, I want to go for a walk. I want to go for a bike ride. I want to dig in the dirt, like let them run around like in circles and be nuts. I don't want to be chopping vegetables at night. I just don't. So what I do is on the weekends, I do, yeah. I don't grocery shop and cook in the same day. It's like a little rule that I have. So for me, because of my balance. So I will typically grocery shop on Saturdays at some point. It's typically after our playtime, outside time. I'm in the garden, the boys can play. And then during nap time, I'll usually run to the grocery. Or my husband will go. Then on Sunday is normally when I meal prep, and that's again in the afternoon. Because for me, I like being outside. I like all of that to happen in the morning. And then once nap time starts, then I'll go in, and I've had all sorts of fresh air time. So now I'm like much more willing, put some music on, have my recipes ready to go, and then I'll get those going. And so I make double batches. So I freeze some and I keep some out. So that way each week I'm having to like not do like a whole bunch of different things. I can kind of pull from a previous week and then add in, so that we are getting more of that like whole food diet, more or less. And it just takes like trying out different recipes. And I will say, if you have kids, like get them in the kitchen with you. And so like it helps so much for them to eat the food that you eat if they help you prepare it. And so like, like my 5.5-year-old, like we have a, what's it called? Like a grinder where you put a shredder, is what I'm thinking of, where you take the sweet potato, you push it in, and it comes out shredded, because we do like sweet potato nuggets and stuff. And so my 5-year-old is like, dropping in the sweet potato, puts the little plastic thing in, pushes it through. I had a whole bowl of sweet potato because we freeze the shredded parts. So that way we have it ready to go for like hash browns and whatnot. He did the whole bowl. When it was like ready to dump, you're like, Mama, I need a little help. And so I dump out the shredded part and put it back underneath. And he was just like going with it. He helped with like do like homemade chicken nuggets. And so he was helping with like doing like the process of breading the chicken nuggets so that we could put that in the air fryer. And it's like, he's part of the whole thing. Our younger one's almost 3. So like he sits up on the counter and we'll give him yogurt to stir and stuff like that. Like he's with it, but I mean, it's like he's not quite like pushing the stuff in yet, but like he'll be there. So that's kind of like our strategy, is just like, I just break it up over the course of the weekend. I usually Saturday morning look through recipes, like what are we going to do, make my shopping list, then we go outside and play. I shop later, and then Sunday afternoons are normally when we cook. And that's a typical weekend. If we're out of town, other things are going on, then that's a little bit different. So what are some of your strategies, Dr. Bobbie?
So I try to somewhat similar. I try on Saturdays to kind of look, what do we have? Now, first of all, I'm going to go back and say my dream is to get like a deep freezer, because I'd love to be able to meal prep and make a bunch of extras and put it in the freezer. So that way it's there you're going to have those weekends you can't meal prep. You're going to have those nights where you had planned a dinner and you come home late from work and you're exhausted and all you want to do is put something in the microwave or the oven. I prefer the oven over the microwave, or stove. So some on Saturdays, and then I will either shop on Saturdays or a family member will shop while I'm working outside or doing something. So I enjoy grocery shopping. I also really enjoy cooking. So Sundays I'll get up and make breakfast for everyone, and then right away I'll kind of go into meal prepping. And because unlike Jess, I'm the opposite. I like getting it done in the morning. So by 1, 2 in the afternoon, I have my entire evening to kind of do what I want. We also, with our neighbors, almost every Sunday, like grill out in the summer or do something. And that typically is like around 2:00. So I just know on Sundays, I want everything done before 2, so I can really just sit out and enjoy my time with them. But I do find meal prepping really helps. Lately, I will say we have not been doing that, and kind of and it's not been bad, but just different. I am getting off work a little bit earlier, which is nice. So I will typically the night before kind of see what's in our freezer, make a plan for the next day. And if I need to stop at the grocery store, I'll just stop on my way home to grab one or two things and then I'll make dinner there. One, it kind of lessens the waste of our food right now,
Mhm.
with this just everything changing so quickly. Um, we just our neighbors, we've been eating out with them a lot more, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's a little harder to plan because a lot of times those plans get changed. Um, so this makes it a little bit more cost effective. It is a little bit more time consuming because you are going to the grocery store much more often.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we're not wasting food, and um, that saves money in a way too.
Well, for sure. And I feel like a lot of people really enjoy cooking. Like it's
Mhm.
something, and it's not that I don't enjoy it. I just enjoy being outside more.
And as for me, like cooking is like a stress reliever. Like once I have this baby girl, I can't, my favorite thing is to cook dinner with a glass of wine.
Mhm.
Like you talk about like just calming down your day, like being able to relax. Like for me, that is where I feel the most relaxed, is just enjoying cooking a meal and having a glass of wine with that. Not even with the meal, with the cooking. And I really truly enjoy that. But I also will say that is when I'm not running around like crazy, trying, working overtime, doing all that. Those days I'm just exhausted and I just want to pop something in the microwave and eat, which is why I
Right.
want the deep freezer.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So we have a second fridge out in the garage,
Mhm.
and it's funny because like that the freezer there isn't like quite big enough for what yeah, so we've actually been using my mom's second fridge in her garage. I'm like, Mom, how much space do you have out there? She's like, really, it's all your stuff. So because she doesn't need as much.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, we should probably consider getting like a deep freezer. But
I
yeah, for
just
right
feel
now,
like
it's like,
it's just so nice to like have a meal for those days where you're like you had something planned and you just really like be able to pull it out in the morning, let
mhm,
it thaw out, and then just pop it in. Like you can enjoy more time with, for example, for you with kids or being outside or
mhm,
just not dreading, and
mhm,
still being able to eat healthy.
yeah,
And it just really is amazing when you change, not 100%, but you change a little bit of what you're eating to be a little bit. When we're talking about whole foods, I think that's something we need to clarify. We just mean like trying to stay away from preservatives, chemicals, things like that. So you're eating the perimeter of the grocery store. I think a lot of people have heard that before, but when you're shopping, you shop kind of on the outside. And you're getting your meats, your fruits, your vegetables, your just all this stuff on kind of the outside and avoiding some of the aisles. Now, obviously, you're going to go into the aisles to get some stuff.
mhm,
We're not saying only do the perimeter. Um, but that's what we mean by whole is
yeah,
when I truly did Whole 30, I made my own sauces, my own buffalo sauce, my own ketchup, my own mayonnaise, because the ones you do buy in the store have preservatives. And that is where, if I'm not strictly following Whole 30 to find what my body can tolerate and what it can't, those are the type of things that I'm going to go buy the mayonnaise. I may not always make my own. I
mhm,
honestly only made it when I was on it. But I learned that it didn't bother me as much. Now, bread is another thing. And I eat gluten, so it's not like a gluten allergy or anything like that. But I just noticed bread makes me feel bloated. So I try to minimize the amount of bread I eat. Um, but I go buy the mayonnaise or I go buy the ketchup. So it's kind of learning, where you can give and take.
right. Yeah, I've done the make your own mayo, make your own ketchup, sauces, things like that. And sometimes like if like I am like a little lighter on what I need to cook that week because like we might be doing like fish and veggies for dinners. Well, that's pretty easy to just like I kind of pre-chop what I can, and then that way we just
Mhm.
toss that in the oven, toss the fish in the oven. That's an easy weeknight meal. Um, so on those weeks, I might take a little more time and make a homemade sauce, and because it's only gonna stay good in the refrigerator for so long.
Mhm.
So like that's also part of it is like how much are you making and how long do you really need it to last. So there's like you can get a little bit overboard for sure.
Mhm.
Uh, so just trying to like keep that balance. Um, Like, and that's, you just kind of you figure that out. But we use also, like, I forgot to mention, like, we use the garden as well. And that's a big part of how we meal plan is, and I include the kids in with this. So like, and that's part of our like Saturday mornings is like going out to the garden, see what's currently ready to pick. The boys come out there with me. And so they are like, my 5.5-year-old now has his own clippers. So, and he's very safe with them. Very, this is a big deal. So he will go in and he'll ask if it's ready to harvest. And if it is, like, he'll clip it. We've got this like little John Deere thing that he can drive. And so he drives it around and loads up the back of his John Deere and puts in a squash or whatever we have, or peppers. And it's really cool because, again, it's like teaching them as well that like, this is a whole food. This is what squash looks like when you grow it. And so they kind of help me tend the garden. They help me harvest. And then when we come in, then it's like, okay, well, we have like 6 things of squash this week. So what can we do with squash? That's going to be fun. And
it's fun to look at different recipes, and like, that's where Pinterest.
Yeah.
I love Pinterest. I have it set up, and I know it sounds like a little over, but it makes it really easy. I have it set up so I have like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then like dinner is separated by either the meat or meatless or seafood or things like that. But then I have a separate list that's ingredient specific. So that way it's a completely separate board on Pinterest, but I'll put the recipe in both places. So that way, let's say I have a ton of zucchini, I can open up the zucchini and it's not just one meal. It could be from breakfast, lunch, or dinner, but every recipe in there uses zucchini.
Right.
So that's kind of how I've done my Pinterest, and that really helps. And I share it with my brother and my boyfriend, because they add in as well, and we're normally all cooking together. So
yeah, and it just helps you. I think the more organized you stay with it, then it's not something that has to be so time consuming. It really can be part of lifestyle. And so, and that's what we really tried to do with our home, like, is make food part of how we think, how we grow things, how we recover on a weekly basis. So it is, I do enjoy it. Like, it's not that I don't like cooking. I do enjoy it. I like the creativity of it. I don't bake. That's not my thing. I don't like having to follow such specific instructions. Like, I don't want to like measure it out like so specifically. I like just throwing it together and then like tasting it and seeing like, oh, do we need a little bit of this, a little bit of that? Like, I like that. That just more works for me. And like teaching them that like, it's okay. Like, they're like, well, how much do we need? I'm like, I don't know. Let's do a handful. Like, what do you think? Should we put in more? Yeah, let's put in more. I'm like, let's see what happens. Like, the only way we know is to like try it.
Yeah.
Like, I've never cooked this recipe, so I'm not an expert in this. Like, we're on equal playing field here. We're all doing it for the first time. So like, let's all just put in our 2 cents. So food can be something that we come together in enjoyment, and it can be social, it can be teaching, it can be learning, it can be all sorts of different things can be paired around food preparation. And it's feeding our minds and our bodies. And that's kind of how we can think about, just reframing this toxin-free lifestyle as like so rule oriented into just like, it's just a lifestyle. It's just kind of what you do. It doesn't have to be more specific than that. Yeah.
And the nice thing about gardening is I'm really excited. I wasn't unable to do a garden last year just because of some things I had going on in life. I wouldn't have been home to take care of it or eat it. But I'm really excited. We just planted ours this year. So big, so many things, a lot of work, but it's worth it. And what's nice is you can control what you put on it, around it. The pesticides, insecticides, there's a lot of organic stuff that doesn't require that. There's so much information out there about, for example, tomato plants, put marigolds and basil near it, and that will help deter bugs and stuff like that. We could go on forever about like all the different stuff you could do. But it's just nice you can control a little bit, and just a little bit.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. So this was our intro into Toxin-Free Month. We have more episodes coming for the rest of the month, so we'll be able to kind of touch on a bunch of different categories just to kind of be thought-provoking. But with the challenge this week, let's really try and think about maybe one thing that you can change that would be more potentially toxin-free product, maybe a recipe that you try that's like more like based on whole foods. It could be anything in that realm, cleaning product, hair product, like lotion, any of those would be totally like one thing, just one thing to change. Check out the episode description below. Make sure to follow us on social media as well if you want just like updated information for toxin-free living. Like really, we do post on there a good bit with like different ideas. So hopefully you find it helpful. All right, stay tuned for the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the episode today. If you would like to learn more about how Two Gals can support you, then join our Two Gals Insiders membership, which can be found at www.2-gals.com. Also, don't forget, follow us on social media. We're on Facebook as well as Instagram. Okay, everybody. Bye. Enjoy your week.